How to start your Monday morning. Start the fire, boil the water, grind the coffee, add filter, coffee in the filter, water into filter, watch it drip, more water, watch it drip some more, fill your cup, raise your cup, and no. Leave the house and leave it up to the professionals to make the coffee. I'll stick to the conversations. Welcome to Caffeinated Conversations with Brooke Allen.
Well, good morning. Thank you so much for being with us. We're a little bit late. I apologize. I was fixing my hair today. So we have a great show ahead. This is the 94th episode. I can't, I say it every week. I cannot believe it. We're getting so close to the 100th. We're trying to plan a big celebration, just haven't really narrowed it down because you know what? Today is the official fall equinox. That happens at 2:19, which means not only is it sweater weather, but it is also pumpkin spice latte weather. And I can finally have one without being judged. But that being said, we're getting so close to the holidays. I'm not sure when to have this big celebration that I desperately want to have. So we will keep you posted on that. And if you have any ideas, you know what, just reach out and let me know. And if you have a venue, that would be fantastic as well. What do you think? So thank you so much for being with us. Here at Caffeinated Conversations, we talk about so many different topics. We talk about halfway to 100, which is about aging gracefully, and also taking care of our loved ones who may be elderly and need some extra resources as well. And then also we talk about parenting, we talk about divorce, we talk about finances, and we do talk about mental health, and that is actually what we're going to be talking about today to start off with. So a little bit of a trigger warning. We are talking about September. It is National Suicide Prevention Awareness, and Dr. Jessica Garrett, you are here with us. Thank you so much. And you are from the Birmingham Maple Clinic. Some of my very good friends are there, and thank you for joining us.
My
and
pleasure.
I know that this, this can be a very tough topic,
it sure can.
right? So we will handle it gracefully and we will handle it tastefully, I know. But, I just want to say that I have had several people in my life who did attempt. And in retrospect, you always think, oh, I should have noticed that sign. I should have realized this is what was happening and I should have asked them more questions. And I think that that's part of this conversation is how can we just pay attention almost, right?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. And so first of all, I would say don't beat yourself up, right?
Okay, yeah.
It's we do want to, but the important thing is just starting the conversation, right? And it is scary. It is scary. And if you have concerns, and oftentimes what will be suicidal warning signs are changes in appetite, changes in sleep. But what's different because we all feel sad, right?
Yeah,
like
for
we all
sure.
feel
So, yeah,
sad
so how do
once in a while.
So if you see, in all transparency, last week, I was like down in the dumps, right? And I will gladly admit it. And it was really bad. And I thought, boy, I haven't been this sad in so long. What is going on?
Right.
Right? But I knew it was sad.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So the difference is we're looking for like the persistence and the pervasiveness of the sadness and to talk about it, to ask, because it can be really scary to ask, right? And there was a myth previously that like you don't want to plant a seed, right? You don't want to plant an idea, which is not. We want to talk about it. We want it to be in conversation and to ask, are you thinking of harming yourself? Are you thinking of suicide?
Right.
And to just have that conversation is so important. And to look at, if there's any increase in substance abuse or alcohol use or the sleep and appetite changes that we see, attitudes of just helplessness that are not going away.
So the statistics with ages are a little scary.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
Because we're talking 10 to 14-year-olds, right? And then it jumps again to later teens and early 20s.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So how, I have 13-year-old twins and I, again, will be honest, that they do struggle with sadness, the divorce and moving and, there's a lot of stuff going on. And I have asked them point blank, are you thinking of self-harm? And trust me, I did not want to ask it.
Right.
I was literally like thinking, I don't want to ask this. You have to ask, it's like this internal dialogue with yourself because you're thinking, what do I do if they say yes? And then, you have to leap into action and not let your emotions kind of cloud it.
Right.
Right. Because
exactly.
if I would have been kind of like, what do you mean? I would have been almost offended. And I don't mean that because I'm like, but I'm your mom. I love you.
Right.
Why? You know?
Right. Exactly. So I think the key is just communication, open communication, and reaching out for support, right? Professional resources. We have, there's numbers to call. There's so many online resources available.
And 988 now,
988,
right? 988 is the main line.
24/7,
you can text that, right?
360, and you can
call.
text, yeah, because a lot of our young people don't like to talk on the phone,
Right. Sure.
So giving them that option to text. And to just keep those communication lines open and to let them know, like, we'll figure this out together, right? And non-judgmental. So internally you're experiencing
freaking out
this,
and like trying so hard.
Yeah, right. But outwardly you're asking and you're supportive, and we'll figure this out together.
So when it comes down to men and women, there's a difference there too.
There is.
Right. Okay.
So women tend to actually have more attempts. But men, by and far, have more completions. And it's 8 out of 10
really
are men.
Oh, okay. So Brian, you are here, and I'm going to throw you into this conversation because you're the only man with us. But hearing that statistic involving men, what do you think about that?
It's startling to me that 8 out of 10 of us are the ones that actually complete suicide when thinking about it, and obviously there's got to be a lot done about that.
Right.
So bravo to your program and everything you're talking about doing this morning, but I wouldn't have fathomed that it would be 8 out of 10,
That are men.
Not that I wouldn't want any, female or male, but my God, we're obviously not dealing with mental health for men the way we should be.
Right.
So that's what I wanted to ask you. So what do you think as a man? Do you feel like there's a stigma against mental health? Or
yeah, I do. I mean, showing a weakness, I think, for some of us, not wanting, if we're a leader like myself of a nonprofit, or leader of your family or whatever it may be. You don't want to show weakness, to maybe it's your wife, your children. Like me running my nonprofit. I mean, I have days of sadness when we have a child desperately in need of a kidney transplant, and it's longer and longer, and the child's getting sicker and sicker. I get some form of bad news. It makes me sad. Of course, that this is our mission, and why hasn't what we're doing sometimes, why isn't it doing more? But then you have to realize that you are doing all you can, and kind of sometimes thank yourself or let yourself know that you're doing the right thing, I think.
Yeah. And I think to change the narrative around boys and how, like, starting even in childhood and in the schools, right? Because there is this kind of like, macho toughness that they are encouraged.
Right, exactly.
To portray no matter what's kind of going on internally.
Well, so it's funny. I've had because I talk to my kids all the time, right? So it's like, what are you feeling? What did you learn in school today? And we sit at the dinner table, and have these long conversations. And it's very funny. I've been told twice, well, first of all, you talk to them too much as a parent, and then second of all, don't make him a sissy. By talking to him, and I'm like, listen, I want him to be able to talk about his feelings, right, and
talk to you.
Yeah.
Male
so
to female.
I was just like taken, it's kind of like I should just smack you in the head. When they said that, it was, I was like, but we don't think like that anymore,
right? But
apparently we do.
Right. Yeah. So I think just even starting it at home, right? Where they're encouraged and they know, like, I'm feeling sad. I don't know why or whatever.
Right.
And to have that, and it's okay to cry.
But but it is such a difference. I don't know, Brian, for you, when you were growing up, were you told not to cry, or how did that go?
It was, my parents were older. I wasn't born until my father was 52.
Okay.
So, they go back, my mom and dad went back to living through the Depression, in World War II, and being without and being expected to be, tough, and you don't complain about anything. You're thankful for every little thing you get. And they went through periods where, people had nothing. People they knew that were friends of theirs lost everything, didn't have money to eat or keep their homes. So that was, I think that was more expected when I was coming up in the 60s and 70s. It was unspoken. I was close to my father. I was close to my mother. And I knew I could speak, but it wasn't put out there. There was no conversation about it back then, like you're talking about about now, which needs to happen. My grandchildren are 6 and 12, and the 12-year-old is my grandson. And I notice how well my son and daughter-in-law both talk to him and let them know, we want to know anything, Max. You'd never be afraid to tell us because, if you don't have that line of communication, we see too many of these stories today about teens, young adults. So
Yeah, and so the one age, as we said, is 10 to 14. And why do you think that is? Do you think it's the peer pressure? It's social media.
Yeah,
it's got to be
absolutely,
to some degree, right?
Absolutely, social media is increasing it. But also, if you look at like what's happening in the brain from 10 to 14 and the body, right? So we have puberty, we have brain development. Your prefrontal cortex isn't even developed yet, right? So that's another thing when we think about maybe impulsive decisions, right? Access to firearms, all of these things that are risk factors in 10 to 14-year-olds. And so to start young and to have school and access to mental health care in, at the doctor's office, even having referrals, schools, it's so important.
Well, I know
it's
at the pediatrician, they give you an iPad now. And the kids themselves, because they're 13, which is very interesting to me, is that, HIPAA and everything, they're like, oh, well, we don't have to tell you everything they say now. Yep. And they're supposed to make their own appointments, which I find hilarious. I'm like, okay, listen, I need to get into your portal so I can make an appointment for you.
Yeah. I still make my 20-year-old appointment.
But I'm like, how are 13-year-olds expected to manage that? I mean, they can't drive themselves.
Right.
So it's just kind of funny that we're giving them so much responsibility so young that they're not really ready to handle.
Yeah, I agree. And the prefrontal cortex not being formed yet means they're not always making the best decisions. Or so like a bad day or a bad incident might feel like, the end of the world, as it does oftentimes for adolescents without being able to, really biologically not being able to see the big picture.
Right. Like, okay, I'll get over this. Right.
Exactly.
And the whole idea too, okay, so what about kids or even adults who do have like ADHD, conditions like that, because that's supposed to add to depression or make it more likely, I guess.
Yes, absolutely. So I think it depends on really, because ADHD is tied to executive functioning, right? Which is like
impulse control too, right?
Impulse control, absolutely. So we do see increases in depression with ADHD and mental illness. So I think that it is really important to address all of the facets of what could be going on, right? Is it just planning and time management that is kind of leading to feelings of overwhelm that then lead to feelings of sadness?
And then
exactly.
All of it, right?
So I think to address each one at its core with a medical provider, with a therapist is so helpful, but especially it's crucial when there's something going on during that really critical age of adolescence.
So what about skipping ahead to older adults and maybe they've just retired or they're having a huge life change, maybe lost a spouse themselves. So often we hear of couples that have been married forever and one dies and then the next one soon after, right? So what about older adults and our seniors who are isolated?
Yes, and you just said isolated, right? So that's the key is community connection, right? So reaching out to, even if it's just a phone call, checking in on people, especially as they age and especially if they experience a traumatic loss, to keep checking in and to try to find little things to look forward to, right? Even if it's just, a concert next week, something where, they have something to look forward to is so important.
So check in. And if you notice, you mentioned them at the beginning, some of the signs.
Yes. So some of the signs, any really behavior change that is apparent, and it's also persistent and pervasive, right? So if we see there's a lot of changes in appetite, we're not eating or we're eating a bunch, or there's changes in sleep, we're not sleeping or we're sleeping all day. And they're lasting, we want to ask about it. Attitudes of just helplessness, nothing's ever going to get better. And then you sometimes, and it's not a one size fits all either, right?
Sure.
There are some people where there is no signs, and then it, maybe takes everyone by surprise. So to be on the lookout for signs, and when you see those signs, just connection, open communication, non-judgmental, and trying to link them with resources.
So the one symptom or sign that I had noticed, in my life was when somebody started giving away stuff.
Right.
Right. So that is a major flag, right?
Right, exactly. So if you see someone who's, maybe historically has been depressed or a little bit flatter, and then all of a sudden they have this burst of giving
Energy
away
and-
things,
right.
things are good, that is a major red flag. And to talk to them about, and to use, are you thinking of suicide? Are you thinking of hurting yourself? And do they have intent, or do they have a plan?
Right.
Do they have a plan? And to get them help. Yeah.
Okay, so 988 is the national
988.
lifeline, right?
Yep.
And of course, this is a conversation that we need to have all the time, and
right.
it's just about paying attention, I think, too, which is hard because when you're wrapped up in your own stuff, you kind of feel like you miss the signs,
Right.
Right. And so,
Right.
what would you say to somebody who may actually be contemplating self-harm?
To reach out. Just to reach out in whatever way is comfortable for you. And whether that's a text because you don't want to talk, whether that's, a phone call, anything, just reach out to someone and let them know. And we'll talk you through it, right? And get resources. You don't have to do it alone, and there's hope. Yeah.
Okay. And then, Brian, what about you?
Yeah, I'm so glad to meet you today because our organization, Kidneys for Kids, we've started what's called a Healthy Minds, Healthy Bodies program this year
great.
with a local health provider up in Bay City, and we're going to be working with national providers on different things, not only for kidney health, but we found, and this is an adult that brought this up to us recently, and we really didn't think about it before, is the mental health of somebody who's on dialysis. As an adult especially, we hear of people getting to the point where, especially somebody, if they know they're never going to be transplanted, they're never going to be healthy enough to be transplanted, they're going to be stuck to this machine, and I don't want it to sound wrong to dialysis companies because it's a life-saving therapy. It's a necessity to stay alive until transplant. But especially with people that can't be transplanted, giving up, and if you miss 2 of your dialysis sessions, in a week, or go a week without dialysis, let's say, you're going to pass. So that's all you have to do is stop treatment. So we've seen people, we've heard of people either contemplating or doing that at the end, and then you've got to. I've said to myself, well, okay, if I was that miserable at the end of my life, if I was just nothing but sick every day, every moment. And I was voluntarily hooking up to this machine. If you're doing it at home, it's 10 hours a day, 7 days a week. Wow. Because it's done at a slower volume. You see people going to a center, over here and over there, and they're there 3.5 to 4 hours. They go home, and a lot of times they're so worn out they can't work, or it's the day in between. That's the recovery day, so it disables them. But if you're doing it at home for a child or adult, being a slower volume, usually it's a daily thing. So and it's usually done at night, overnight, and you're supposed to try to sleep, obviously, through this while it's going on. An alarm will go off because something isn't right, the volume.
So it's like being in the hospital then, when you hear alarms going off. And
tube is kinked or whatever.
Right.
So, try sleeping through that with an adult. If you're a parent, try to do that with a child, try managing that. But so going back to especially the adults, they're the ones, if they're reaching that point. How do they deal with that? How do you deal with somebody with a medical, whether it be cancer or whatever, they've got a terminal illness. How do you deal with somebody like that that's just giving up, basically?
Yeah, you know what? That is a great question. There are, social workers and therapists who specialize in end of life care or dealing with adults and individuals with chronic health conditions, because that adds a whole nother physical layer on top of the mental layer. So to have your body be in pain and then mentally be in pain can be just, anguishing. So I think there are definitely therapists that specialize in treating, and at hospital there's social workers for right. So to reach out and keep that connection.
Yeah, I brought that up. It's just this particular patient. Now she's a friend and an adult that worked for another nonprofit, and she's to the point of being off of work because the dialysis is taking so much out of her, and she has a person with her all the time to give her confidence. When she's anywhere. This person is with her, put it that way. And she's the first one to talk to us about this, and she's now part of our committee. how are we going to address this. So thank you for talking about
So-
with this me today.
Brian, you donated your kidney
Yeah,
it was in 2012?
2013,
Okay.
I saw the story in 2012 in Jessica. So I gave a kidney to a 10-year-old girl. It's be 13 years.
And then after you did that, though, because I have a friend who actually donated her kidney to her husband.
Yeah.
And she was like all of a sudden she got like super angry, and she ended up sicker than he was.
Okay.
They ended up getting divorced.
Oh, my.
Which was was so traumatizing. But the whole idea of, I think people after a big medical emergency or procedure end up getting depressed as well, right? Because it's a change of life.
Yeah.
And how about you? Did you suffer from any of that? Or?
No, mostly, for us kidney donors, I know so many of us now, there's not near enough of us, but the ones that I know, we'd feel that we'd do it over 1,000 times if we had 1,000 more kidneys. But I also hear from people that, they're very elated. I came home, I donated on Friday. I was home on Monday, and I had a little store open for my clothing brand that people were keeping open for me. And I went in on Tuesday. I was just, wow. I feel this energy, and I just seen Jessica, within the last 48 hours after she received my kidney, and saw how well she was doing. And I did too much, and I ended up tearing some stitches and basically having to lay down for 2 weeks after that. But then we have people that, after that excitement fades, then all of a sudden, maybe they're not getting, maybe they expected something, and you can't expect something from donating a kidney. There's no expectations. You're giving of your free will, and you can't expect a thank you, whether you know the person or not. And I think some people are thinking, well, I did this life-saving thing, and now if it's a person they didn't know, I'm not getting any contact. I put out a letter, and that will depress them, or like we're talking about when we donate, okay, because we have to see a psychologist is the last thing before you donate. So what if, when I donated Jessica, what if I gave that kidney and it fails right away? Now I have one kidney for the rest of my life. There's no going back. And now they have to go find another donor. How are you going to feel? So that's a big thing. And I had to say, I'm putting it basically in God's hands. In my case, I was that I believe that I'm going to do this. It's going to be successful, and she's going to live a healthy, active life, which has turned out to be, and which it turns out to be the majority of the time. But if there's a complication or something like that, that can really set somebody back to saying, why did I do this? Or did I do something that caused that person harm in doing it because something went wrong later on, a complication or whatever, which is very seldom. So, yeah.
So there are thoughts, and mental health is an issue no matter what. If you're donating, if you're on dialysis, it's an issue that people don't have to, but should talk about, and probably the caregivers for these patients too, I would imagine.
Right, and
probably need
you
help.
wouldn't want to donate a kidney. I see a newspaper story, and that's how I found Jessica. And then I see the same story when I go home, so I felt it was compelled, and I was already involved in trying to help somebody. But, like I say, to do it with any expectation, you can't do that. It's got to be a free will, and whatever happens, happens. And you got to be prepared for the good and the bad, and have a support system around you, like in recovery, to help get through. People get home and all of a sudden, they're not feeling right away. Why am I not recovering fast enough or whatever?
Right, they get impatient.
Yeah, they get impatient. You've got to give the time. I was working heavy construction. I couldn't lift over 10 pounds for 6 weeks, stuff like that. And like I said, I went right away because you're so elated, and then I went and did too much, So yeah, there's a lot that goes into this, but you better be straight in your mind for the reasons that you're doing this. Clearly, why am I doing this, and what do I expect to happen in the end?
Excellent, thank you. How can people find you? Are you taking new patients? Are you taking 13-year-olds? No.
I do all of our assessments at Birmingham Maple Clinic, so yeah, they can absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
And then you guys specialize in a lot of stuff,
We
right?
specialize in a lot of
of
stuff. And unfortunately, in the state, there's not enough mental health providers. Like, it's a problem. Telehealth has opened some doors, which is great, but telehealth is not always
It's
appropriate
weird, right?
or available, right? But it does open, like if we think of our rural areas.
For sure.
Right? Especially where there's, but yes, so the question was what we offer. and I got sidetracked. But yeah, so we see adults, kids, families, marriage therapy. We have psychiatrists, social workers, psychologists.
Oh, so you have the whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so
yes.
people. Okay, and then website.
BirminghamMaple.com.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank
Okay,
you.
we are going to take a quick break. Dr. Saul Kogan, he, I don't know if you guys know him, but you've probably seen him on TV a lot. He's kind of like the media doctor. He is the owner of the Nerve and Disc Institute, and I have been able to talk to a lot of his patients about how good they're feeling after they've seen Dr. Kogan. He's got 3 locations. Let's watch. Okay, so I am here with Bob, and Bob, you are one of Dr. Kogan's happy patients, and you originally went to see him for lower back pain.
Yes.
Okay, and then what kind of treatment did he do?
He did. I had a disc problem, and he did some disc therapy, is what he called it, and what
Okay.
they called it.
Right.
And I went there for at least 2 to 3 months, and I was strapped on a table where they stretched me out. At least it started out 3 times a week, then I went down to 2, and then after that was once a week.
And how is it now?
It's beautiful. I
Okay.
love my back. I do everything. I can get out.
So
out
full
and about.
mobility now.
Yes. Before I saw Dr. Kogan, I was getting epidural shots in my lower back.
And those are not fun.
They're not fun, but they worked.
Right. Okay.
But it wasn't helping the problem. It was masking the problem.
Right. Like a Band-Aid.
Right. So I saw a commercial with Dr. Kogan, and I said, I know that guy.
Yeah,
I
because you
had
guys
known
have a
him.
history,
we
right?
knew each
Yeah.
other. And I said, I'm going to look into it. And I did. I went. I got went in to get a treatment. And the first day I said, yes, I want to do it. They gave me treatment right away.
Seriously.
Yes.
And that
On the
makes a
spot.
difference too, right?
On the
Because
spot.
it's like a consult and then come back and all that. And that wasn't like
Exactly.
that. So big time saver.
Yes.
Okay. Full mobility now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the doctor? This is one of my favorite questions.
Oh, I'd give him a 10.
A 10?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Bob. I appreciate your
Thank
time.
you.
And of course, if you mention Caffeinated Conversations with Brooke Allen, you will get 50% off your treatment plan. So not a bad deal. I think we've got some takers here. They're nodding their heads, so I'm excited about that. His website, are you ready? is Nerve Institute, nervediscinstitute.com, okay? So tell your mom, tell your wife.
I certainly
Kelly,
will.
do you need anyone? She's like, no, thank you. Okay, so we have been talking to Brian Martindale. You are the executive director of Kidneys for Kids. We've heard a little bit about your story inadvertently, and thank you for being willing to talk about how your emotional health and men's
Yeah.
emotional well-being too. So we know that you gave a kidney back in 2013, and Jessica was how old then?
She was 10 years old.
Okay, and she was 10 years old. How old is she now?
She is 23, perfectly healthy.
So
She
awesome.
attends Eastern Michigan University. She is getting a doctorate degree in neuroscience. And it was, like I say, a story in the Bay City Times. And then I saw it the same evening. I picked up the paper on CBS, on her CBS station. And that's how I felt it was meant to be. And tested for her in 2012 in September. She was already in the University of Michigan program. I had already tested for another person almost a year and a half prior. I was going to be a paired donor too. If you don't match somebody in blood type, and that turns people off a lot of times. They see a story and a blood type, and we try not to put blood types in anymore because they'll say right away, oh, they're an A positive, I can't help them because I'm an O. Well, they don't know about, and sometimes transplant hospitals or programs aren't good enough about explaining paired donation. So what I was going to do, I was going to donate to somebody I matched perfectly. That produces a voucher. You designate that voucher then to the person that you wanted to give your kidney to, and then that puts them in the first number 1 on the list in that pool, and then they're matched with the next best kidney. So by giving in a paired donation, you're actually saving 2 lives.
Wow.
So I'd already gone through that process. So I went through this retesting, and Jessica and I matched as if we were siblings. There are different factors: blood tissue type, cross matching, and DNA factors, and the closer you match in each one, the better chance the person is going to keep your kidney for a long period of time. It's not going to be rejected. So we match as if we were siblings. We never met. We live 4 blocks apart.
Seriously?
Yeah. And
Wow.
I use that in the motivational interviews and things I do today with Kidneys for Kids to tell people that when we're telling these stories about children, and then the adults too that we help in the state of Michigan, that literally your kidney donor could be around the corner. It's just a matter of them seeing or hearing your story. So watching her grow up from 2013 on, like she was a stranger, and it was just her and Mom, and we started to meet once a year, maybe have a pizza party. Then Wendy, my wife, and I started going to school functions, and she started inviting us to things. And now, like I say, 23, she's at Eastern Michigan. She's on our board of directors, and now when she comes home, she's like a daughter to my wife and I.
That is so awesome.
Yeah.
That is really amazing. So you started Kidneys for Kids.
Yeah.
And there are a couple of, I don't want to say myths, but misnomers about people who donate, right? So
Yeah.
let's talk about that real quick, because the goal is always to get as many donors,
Yes.
potential donors, as possible.
Yeah, and that was the beginning of Kidneys for Kids. In 2021, I had been in construction for a lot of years and had both shoulders surgically rebuilt. So it was time to retire from physical activity to that extent. And I had been a mentor and still am for the University of Michigan transplant program. So I'm called a living donor peer mentor. So if you're going to donate a kidney, you're going to talk to somebody like me about the process who can actually tell you about what you'll go through and how you feel.
Because you've gone through it.
Because I've actually gone through it. You know, a doctor can tell you anything, but unless you've experienced it.
Right.
So I've done that for 9 years now, and we found out and didn't realize when I donated, I knew there were almost 100,000 total people in the United States who need kidneys today, and 13 people pass every day while waiting for a kidney. But I didn't realize there were 2,000 of them under the age of 18. Like Jessica, and then we have children now as young as 2, and that's the other thing I didn't realize, even when I donated to Jess at 10, that you can donate your full-size kidney to a child as young as 2 years old, depending on the height and weight of the child. And because we had people when we first started posting these stories and we started Kidneys for Kids, I'm 6'5" and 250. They think their kidney's
Kidney's
big as
going to be like a
watermelon.
bowling ball.
It's 6 to 8 centimeters, just like everybody else's kidney. And when it's transplanted, the kidneys are usually left in place in the back. They're disconnected, unless they're diseased and then removed. And the kidney's placed in the front stomach, in a pouch down in here. So if it's a child, especially a younger child, as young as 2, it protrudes. Obviously, for a while, there's notice there's something there. And I think it did for a little bit in Jess at 10, but you wouldn't know at 23 today she'd ever had a kidney transplant.
Right.
So 2021, I had the surgery done, and my wife and I discussed how can we better help these children. So it started out with what we call Driving for Life. So now for the last 4 summers, I've taken a sponsored Chevrolet vehicle, and I started driving city to city. And first it was visiting other kidney organizations, and then it became more focused on the children when I had contact from families. And the first interview I actually did was in Norfolk, Virginia, for a child that was 18 months old at the time, who needed a kidney and been born without kidney function. So from day 1, being on 10-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week dialysis.
As a baby.
As a baby. So, you think about this. You have a child that young, going to roll around and move. How do you control that? So Mom and Dad had cut a slit through the crib, had a recliner next to it, and every night one slept in bed and one slept in the crib for 19 months, holding Cooper until his dad ended up being a kidney donor. I drove all the way to Virginia. We did a TV interview. The day we did the TV interview, we get a call from all of the news stations that are supposed to show up. There'd been a double murder. So and I found that this would happen. If I could have the best scheduled interview in a town, set up at a hospital or whatever, this family, and something happens.
Yeah, if there's breaking news.
And they will go to the breaking news over a child that's literally dying for a kidney. So we did the interview by Zoom when I returned to Michigan. He got the kidney from his dad. His dad hadn't known at the time we did the interview if he could donate or not. But the story spurred 5 other people to donate kidneys who couldn't donate to Cooper. And then part of it was a paired or chain donation, and part of it was a couple individual donations. And then another man came forward and donated part of his liver because he couldn't donate a kidney to a boy in Maryland. So seeing the power, how I can use the media.
Ripple effects. Right?
Yeah. So the ripple effect. So then the next couple of years I went 5,000 and 7,000 miles. And this year we had a little bit broken up trip into 3 sections. But what we do now for most of the interviews, we schedule them at the transplant hospital where the child is being taken care of. And we have the family there that way. We have the team of doctors and everybody involved in the transplant and the child. And it's a much more informative interview. And then if the hospital schedules it with the media, they actually show up. You know, more so if they issue a official press release. And in doing these stories like that, we've helped to match 14 different donors with 14 kids.
That is awesome.
Since 2022. Our goal from the beginning was to match at least 100 donors with 100 children. It sounded like it was attainable very fast because, you know, in my mind, okay, I'm going to be in Los Angeles today, and this interview is going to be on CBS, and it's going to reach this many thousand people. But you have to have this, you know, X amount of people actually pay attention to the interview, to be involved in the interview, or for them to attract them to say, wow, maybe I can do something about this.
I think it takes a special person to be willing to say, you know what, I'm going to test for this, and by golly, if I'm a match, I'm doing it.
Right. So just to get those people that will even test, and then out of the people that test, you're only going to maybe have 200 people, or maybe a few more out of those 100 that actually passed all their tests, qualify, and then said yes, because you can do all the testing, and some people will get to the point where either relatives have talked them out of it, family members. What if I need a kidney? You're giving your kidney away to somebody else. And money-wise, you're going to take 6 weeks off of work like I did. If you're in heavy, you know, doing something heavy, administrative, maybe you can go back to your desk job in 2 weeks, but whatever. You're going to have costs of going back and forth for your aftercare.
So who does insurance pay for this transplant?
The transplant recipient's insurance pays for your surgeries and everything, and your follow-up visits. But you're still, like, I was 100 miles away from U of M, living in Bay City, so going back and forth, you know, a few times for follow-ups, and that lasts for a couple years. And me taking off of work, you know, missing a few $100s.
It's a big commitment all the way around, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then, you know, you're trusting your health is going to be like mine is. You know, I feel like I'm a 30-year-old. I'm going to be 64 next year. And that's what most of us feel afterwards. We tend to be healthier because if you pass all those tests, you're one of the healthiest people in the country, healthy enough to donate a kidney, and then you know afterwards, I've only got one bean left. I better take care of it.
Right.
Because like Jess, she's got my other one, and you know, so you got to have the mindset, obviously, to want to do something, you know, without expecting something in return. You know, Jessica and Stacy could have stayed strangers after that, said they wanted to be private, like a lot of people do.
Right.
And we've had people like myself then like, you know, what happened? I gave this kidney or whatever. You know, it's done out of generosity with no financial return, no gain of any kind, but knowing that you gave part of yourself to save a life.
For sure.
So the biggest trip this is why I'm glad to be on with you today. These 4 years have led up to 2026. There's never been a year where there's been 7,000 people in the United States, adults, donating to both adults and children. So there's never been 7,000 living kidney transplants in one calendar year. As close as we've come, 6,835 before COVID. And then it went down. But every year we get to 6,000, 6,500, and it stops for whatever reason. The rest of the kidneys people receive are from deceased donors donating afterlife.
Okay.
So we're trying to motivate at least 7,000 people next year in 2026 to donate kidneys. And we're calling this the Drive to 7,000. The trip I've taken every year is called Driving for Life. So this Drive to 7,000, we're trying to do it in concert with, we're asking like the National Kidney Foundation to participate, the American Kidney Fund, who I've worked with before, National Kidney Registry is already on my car. They've been a blessing to work with the last couple of years.
Oh yeah, because you have that car that's wrapped, so you might see him around.
Yeah. If you see a blue and green Equinox that's just neon like, that looks like a NASCAR, that's me.
Matches his shirt, right?
Yeah, it matches the shirt. So yeah, now we're all color coordinated. But so next year in 2026, it's going to be a summer trip still. It's going to entail 30 cities, driving 12,000 miles to these transplant centers, but not just doing these television interviews now. We're going to have a healthcare event in each city. We're asking organ procurement organizations, because there's been so many stories lately about deceased organ donation, sensationalized, that people are you know, having organs harvested while still alive. And there are things that have happened that need to be taken care of in organ procurement and in transplantation for deceased organ donation. There's been some things that have gone on that need to be monitored and they have been investigated, and some things that need to change.
But that's not the norm.
No, that's
right?
not
I mean,
the norm. The norm is, you donating, your heart, liver, lungs, and all the afterlife, and you're saving a life. You're leaving your greatest legacy. So what we're asking organ procurement organizations to do when I get to these towns is work with this now. Don't just promote signing up for deceased organ donation. Help us push living donation, and in return, we'll help build a positive narrative all summer when we cross the country and have your organization, your OPO in the state, because they're all different in every state, as part of this event. And let us go out there and talk about what's real and what's not, and hopefully because people are removing themselves from the list right now with all these sensationalized stories. Even the press conference last week that Robert Kennedy did and Dr. Oz and their staff was positive towards this. To see the new administration saying that organ donation is safe now, seeing them say that, and Robert Kennedy saying a positive story about donating their nephew's organs recently, and seeing it save lives, that was just wonderful to have them say that it is safe now, it's being watched over, monitored properly, and we encourage deceased organ donation as well as promoting living donation. So that's what we hope to do next summer, make history by breaking that 7,000 plateau, getting more people than ever to donate, getting more people to come back to sign up to the deceased list, and saving these children's lives.
So how can people, if they're interested, they can go to your website?
Yep, kidneysforkids.org. You can go there to make a donation. We are a 501(c) nonprofit, of course. All this is done with sponsorships and, public donations. You can find a clothing brand I have there called Carmack Apparel, too. If you like T-shirts and hoodies that promote kindness, visit our website there. It'll take you to our clothing brand. Every time you buy something, 20% of the profits go to Kidneys for Kids. And then you'll find there we also have our own television network, which, of course, The Brooke Allen Show and Caffeinated Conversations is already on, and all of your new episodes are going to be debuting through the fall and winter.
Yep, I appreciate that.
So we're on Roku worldwide on Good Karma Network. If you're on Roku, download the app for Good Karma Network, because you'll be watching all of Brooke's episodes live and on demand. And in having that, we launched that in February. Now that gives us the ability to, when I travel next summer, now there's going to be a cameraman sitting next to me. We did the first few episodes this year where we get to these hospitals and we set up out of a suitcase, we can broadcast live television. And we're doing it in 2 and 3 camera format like you are, and doing these interviews, not just the networks that in that city, but then we take over afterwards and further interview the doctors and the families, do better stories, and then they turn into television episodes. So now next summer for the 12,000 Miles, it's all filmed as a reality series, but not sensationalized. It's really what's happening, to everything that goes into finding, an organ for somebody, motivating somebody to become a donor, what goes through the transplant, and all of that.
That's amazing.
So, and that will be our, featured series that we're building everything around on the network, and that will go into a documentary and hope, like I say, to just contributing to saving more lives faster.
Right, and raising awareness, right? It's all about raising awareness.
About kidney health, and like I talked to you about, we have a new Healthy Mind, Healthy Bodies program. We've started with a local organization up in the Bay City, Saginaw area, and we're asking every hospital that becomes a partner of ours to become part of that, promoting physical and mental health.
That's great.
For our kids and we help adults too in Michigan. If you're watching and you need a kidney transplant, we will help recruit a donor for you, as well as provide up to $1,000 per year grant services, and that's to cover costs not covered by insurance.
That's so cool, Brian. It's an amazing thing what you do and all the time you take. And I hope to meet Jessica at some point.
Yes,
right?
Next time I was on with you, late last year, early this year, I should say. And next time, Jessica is very interested in coming on and meeting you.
Excellent.
And talking. Both of us can talk to you about this.
Very cool. Thank you so much. Okay, so one of my favorite things to talk about is poor Kelly. She's been sitting there. So Kelly, you are an actor.
I am.
Yes, and so I love theater, of course, and the theater season has kicked off, and you have already gone through opening weekend at the Farmington Players at the Barn, as it's called. So what is the show that just opened?
The show is called Clybourne Park by Bruce Norris.
And it's a Tony Award-winning show, right?
Yep, Pulitzer Prize winning as well.
Yes, so so tell us what it's about.
So the play's like an imagining of a follow-up to A Raisin in the Sun by Lorraine Hansberry. So it the first act takes place in 1959 in Chicago, in the house that the family from A Raisin in the Sun is planning on moving into.
Oh, okay.
In a predominantly white neighborhood, and then a neighbor disrupts the afternoon of packing to bring a lot of racist opinions into the house and try to convince the family not to sell their house to the black family.
Okay.
The second act then is a whole different cast of characters, but in the same house.
Okay.
And now the conversation is more around gentrification because the entire community has experienced white flight and is now a predominantly black neighborhood that a white family is planning on moving into the house.
So it's kind of reversed. Mm-hmm. Do you play two characters?
I do play two characters.
Okay, so who do you play?
I play Bev in the first act, she who owns the house, and then the second act I play Kathy, who is a lawyer.
Okay. And so what age would you say this is appropriate for?
I would say like mid-high school students through adulthood, because there's a lot of profanity in it. There are some sensitive subjects around suicide as well, on top of racism. So, I mean, there's a lot of really good conversations, but I would not suggest taking maybe like a mature middle schooler, but if you've had those conversations in the past, but there's a lot of strong language for sure. Don't take elementary school students to it.
What has been your challenge playing these parts?
The lines. I mean, it's a lot of talking. It's a lot of talking, and it's a lot of talking over people. And then there's the added element of playing. Normally, I play roles that are generally younger than me, but I'm playing up this time.
Okay.
Which is an interesting new challenge. And I mean, 1959 is very stylized. Mm-hmm. Then in 2009, my character is a bit of a hoot.
So have you enjoyed doing this or playing this? It's different from what you're used to?
Oh yeah, I've enjoyed it a lot. It's I mean, on top of this is my first time working with the Farmington theater, like the Farmington players. So it's been a lot of fun meeting a lot of new people from different backgrounds, and it is community theater. Mm-hmm. It's been a very supportive environment to be in. The director, Ben, he's very great. And very supportive when I was having a hard time with my lines.
You're like, line. Well, I joked before we came on. I was like, I'm always used to writing my lines on my hand. Like, okay, I used to be able to remember everything, right? And I guess that's part of getting old. It's like you're like, okay, line, They're like, okay, your line is your line. That just, just say it. But it is so stressful. You guys open. How were the houses this past weekend?
Good. A lot of people. Yeah, Friday. We did a show Friday night, Saturday night at 8 p.m., and then Sunday at 2.
Okay.
The Sunday show was surprisingly a lot fuller than I expected, and then Friday and Saturday, I think maybe like 2/3 full. So.
Okay. And the barn is, that's a nice theater, and it's got a lot of seats.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's a beautiful stage. So you guys run for what? 2 more weekends or 3?
2 more weekends.
Okay. And then 8 o'clock curtain.
Yes.
Okay. And what's your next audition going to be for? Any idea?
Oh, I don't know. A lot of the auditions have already happened, so I think I just need to wait for next
spring,
season.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the whole thing. You got to hit it when it's hot, right? But how long have you guys been in rehearsals for this?
Oh gosh, I think it was a 10-week rehearsal, but we had less rehearsals through the week on average, so it definitely was, all those weeks were necessary.
Right. And definitely not a musical, because some people are like, oh, is this, oh, I love musicals. And then they go to a show, they don't do any research. And it's like, this is not a musical.
No, you'll have to go back for Hello, Dolly.
Right. It's like, hello, Dolly. Okay, and you can buy tickets at the door too, or?
Yeah, you can buy tickets on the door, online. You can call the box office. They are assigned seating, so
oh, that's right.
Online you can choose your own seats, but they'll help you at the door as well.
Right, so positive experience for you.
Yes.
Okay, so what has been your most favorite role that you played?
Oh, that's such a hard question. Yeah. There's just so many good ones. One of my first roles that I had when I moved to this side of the state was Heather Duke in Heather's the Musical. Mm-hmm. And it's just such a hilarious show. That was at the Ringwald, but my last 2 shows were at the Detroit Repertory Theater.
Nice.
And the very last one I did, I played a cheerleader. And so that was just so much fun because also hilarious, but we got to do cheers as well.
That's so cool. So I think you must know my good friend, Antoine McKay.
I do.
Yes, Antoine. Yeah, we went to school together.
Oh, fun.
So he's like a standard there, right? So.
Oh, yeah.
And it was funny because I saw the show. I didn't see the show with you with the cheerleaders, but I remember thinking, oh yeah, that's not an audition I'm going to. I'm like, that's not happening in this world. So that is so awesome. Okay, well, if you see Antoine, tell him I said hello.
Will
okay,
do.
Please. And okay, so I always ask this, and I am wondering, if you were to meet your younger self for coffee, what would you tell her?
Oh. Which younger self?
Let's say, I don't know, Kelly, pick an age for her.
15.
Oh, I had a feeling you were going to say adolescence. If I could have a cup of coffee with my younger self, I would say, I think something that I say to my patients all the time is like, just be graceful with yourself and not be so hard on yourself and to try to focus on the good.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, Brian, you're up.
Something along the similar lines, going back that far, if I could say something to that young man, that give things time in life to take shape. Don't be impatient. Don't feel let down when something doesn't happen right away. It's not on your timeline sometimes. If you're trying to do something good, good will come back to you. Just keep doing good. Don't go the other way.
Right. And I think patience is hard to come by when you're young.
It is.
Right? You just want it to all happen immediately.
Immediately. And I think more so today with everything the adolescents and children have with, are given to them, instant gratification, social media and everything. I think that's more important today to, they need to learn patience and they need to learn tolerance, and that they have to be seriously invested in everything they do. The effort brings forth the results.
Right. Thank you. Okay, Kelly, you're up. What do you tell your younger self and what age?
I guess 15's a good age. Probably along the similar lines. Definitely don't take on too much. Might be like words that my current self needs to hear, but like just be grateful for everything that you have and enjoy the little moments and take time to appreciate your surroundings around you in the present.
Thank you. It's beautiful.
And I think to put yourself out there too, especially today, kids are like it's so like everything's cringy, right? Or everything's
or texting.
Like,
across the table or across the room, not
right?
It's like, oh wait, hold on, let me tell you. Let me tell you right now.
Right. So I think to put yourself out there and don't. I would tell myself that. No one's looking. Just don't be afraid of being embarrassed.
Well, what's so
be
funny?
Cringy.
Cringy, right? Be sus, as they say. Be sus. What's another one? Sus. I don't know. Capri, you have one for us? She's like, I do not. It's funny because the kids say some things sometimes, and I'm like, I don't know, but that sounded not appropriate, what you just said. It turns out it was fine, but I'm like, where are you guys getting these words?
Right? That's 6'7" now? Is
Yes,
it?
it's crazy. Yeah. I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about anymore, right? Well, listen, thank you all so much for joining us. It has been a pleasure on the 94th episode. I'm so excited. I do have one disclaimer to do. So I have been stopped. I'm wearing my glasses because I have... So I have like a black eye, and I've actually been stopped, and I was moderating an event last week. People were like messaging me after saying, hey, are you okay? What's going on? So in full transparency, because I am halfway to 100, I got Botox and for my migraines, and I bruised. So, but I have had quite a few people like asking me. So I felt like I needed to say something and be like, no, I'm good. Thank you. But thank you, right? Thank you for caring. I appreciate that so much. Okay, well, I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to get that pumpkin spice latte because the fall equinox, it is happening at 2:19, all right? So thank you so much. And like I always say, keep the coffee hot. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye. Thanks.